Hey everyone, we are back. It is Tracy broadcasting live from New Hampshire Writers Project headquarters, and I'm excited to be here this afternoon with Kim Chandler. How are you, Kim?
I'm good, Tracy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Great to have you here.
Thanks
Kim
for having
is
me.
one of the members of New Hampshire Writers Project, and she is also another featured author in our holiday showcase. And if you are not familiar with our holiday showcase, it is a page on our website at nhwritersproject.org that highlights over 55 authors and their books for the holiday season. So if you're looking for a unique gift or just something for that hard to buy person on your list, then I encourage you to come on over to our website and support the local literary community. And so we've been doing live broadcasts since the beginning of December, and we're excited to talk with Kim today, who has a really interesting book. And I know we're going to get heavy into it, into your research. And I know that you are a photographer as well. And did you photograph all of the pictures in this book?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself and the inspiration for writing and researching this type of book.
Sure. So in my real job, I've been a high school counselor for 30 years, and I've always loved history. I'm one of those people that when we travel places, I've researched every little detail of every place we go, and I annoy everybody with everything that I've learned, whether they want to hear it or not. And my husband and I moved to Hancock, New Hampshire in 2012, and there's a covered bridge there. It's the Hancock Greenfield Bridge, and it was built in 1937, so it's not one of the oldest covered bridges in the state, but it's still old. And I decided that I wanted to visit all of the other covered bridges and take photos. That was my initial goal. So I did that 2012, 2013, 2014, and then life got in the way and I kind of put the project aside. And in 2020, I don't know about you, but I had some time on my hands and it wasn't really safe to be gathering inside. So we thought, well, let's go back and finish visiting all of New Hampshire's covered bridges. So that's what we did. And I photographed the rest of them. And then I found that there were not real definitive histories on the covered bridges. There were books out there that had, build dates, costs, maybe who built it if someone knew that, but there was no really in-depth book. And unlike historic properties, there's no docent that pops up at the bridge and says, hello, welcome to the Rowell Bridge, because that would be creepy if somebody were actually doing that. And so I started to do research, and my goal initially was to maybe do a website or something like that. And I was researching at the Historical Society of Cheshire County in September of 2020. It was literally, I came in with a mask. Alan Rumrell, the past director, gave me a box and said, go ahead and look, kind of, very, very strange days. And when I was leaving, he said, what are you going to do with all of this? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, you should write a book. And I said, I have no business writing a book. Like, books are real. And he said, anybody can write a book. And so I thought, is that a challenge? I'm not sure. So that's what I did. And I had initially had a contract with History Press, and their books that they put out they're pretty small. They're nowhere near the 288 pages that I ended up with. And so I ended up with so much research that I had to cancel that contract. And I reached out to Peter E. Randall, publisher, and Deirdre Randall was outstanding. She walked me through the process as somebody that I had no idea about publishing a book. And the beauty of it was she and her design team took my Word document and my photos and the archival photos from the National Society for the Preservation of Covered Bridges and put it together. It was perfect. I had no idea what that would even entail or what that would look like. And they had the same vision I did. And that's what happened. So it was very much by accident that I ended up writing this book.
Well, it sounds like a wonderful collaboration.
It definitely was.
That's fantastic. Well, and tell me, how many covered bridges are covered in your book?
So there are 61 covered bridges in the book. There are the 58 that have a state number. So the state of New Hampshire has numbered their bridges. And then there are 3 historic box pony covered bridges that I included in there as well.
And now you were also telling me about the box pony bridges don't have roofs, but they're considered authentic. Can you talk a little bit about what makes a covered bridge authentic?
Sure, I can. So the official definition of a covered bridge is one in which the bridge's trusses are covered. And the truss is the series of triangles that you may notice on the side of a bridge. And typically they are connected with a top cord, and you can see the roof on the top, and the trusses are connected. In a box pony, you'll see the trusses will come up from the roadbed, but they're boxed in. So there's no roof that connects. And New Hampshire has three. There's a box pony bridge in Randolph. There's one in Rollinsford, which is in really bad shape. And then there's one in Wilton, which is also not in very good shape, but plans are in the works for that to be restored. So I'm looking forward to that process, because there were in North America, I think there were only 5 of them left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what a box pony bridge is. I've never seen one.
Well, you can visit the Wilton one.
Yeah.
Well, you can visit all of them, actually. The Snyder Brook Bridge in Randolph is easy to get to if you're up that way. You off of Route 2, you park at the Appalachia Trailhead, and you take a little walk down the railroad tracks, and it's right there.
Okay. Oh, I'll have to take a look at that.
Beautiful.
Well, and there's something on your website that I thought was interesting when I was researching you. So it says here, Kim has thoroughly researched each bridge and provided documentation to support and sometimes correct the stories found in other books and periodicals. So I'm really curious about your research process. I mean, it sounded like it did take you a good while, but what kind of documentation were you finding that helped you correct some of these inaccuracies?
Yeah. So it varies by bridge and by town. So what I started doing was I said, okay, this bridge is in this town. So I'd reach out to the town to see what records they had. Some towns have beautiful records, all organized in folders by date or by subject. Other towns
made it easy.
Other towns don't have any records at all. They don't have any receipts or any records. So that varied. Some historical groups, same thing. Beautiful records. Everybody welcomed me in to look. In some places, they really didn't have much at all. The University of New Hampshire has digitized the town reports for every town in the state of New Hampshire. So I can sit on my couch now and look up and see what was going on in Langdon in 1865. How many sheep were killed by dogs and all those types of things.
Oh, geez.
So, and sometimes you get really lucky, because they'll say in the town record, John Smith was paid $500 for the Prentice Bridge on this date. Sometimes it will just say covered bridge work. And so sometimes you can make an assumption if it's the covered bridge you're looking for. And sometimes it just says bridges. So there were some instances where I was able to dig down and find specifics on covered bridges. And in some towns, I just couldn't. And any engineer or bridge wright or timber framer that worked on any of these covered bridges, they had records as well. And they were fabulous, not only in sharing them with me, but explaining what it means, because that's not my first language at all. So I definitely learned a lot, and I still have a lot to learn. But and as you probably know, history exists through stories. And people tell stories, and they get told again and again and again and again. And sometimes you can't find records to back that up. So, and that's history, right? So we know that that's legend, and we keep it, but sometimes we find out through records that that's not always accurate.
Well, this is such a fascinating project. And one of the things I'm curious with all the 61 that you researched, did you have a favorite, not only that you researched, but that you photographed, or was it potentially 2 separate ones?
It's hard for me to pick a favorite, because I feel like I'm choosing a favorite child. I feel like that's probably not the best thing to do. There are, I will tell you a story that I really enjoyed. So in Lancaster, there is a bridge called the Mechanic Street Bridge, and it was built in 1862. And at the same time, there was another bridge built not too far from that one. And they were built at the same time. And the records will show a line item for both bridges, but it doesn't show who built the bridge. So I went up to research in Lancaster, and the the library there had a bunch of boxes of receipts. And Barbara brought me one box and she said, you're welcome to dig through. So I dug through and I found some receipts for bridge work from 1862, but I didn't have enough time to go through all 7 boxes. So my husband and I went back the following winter. This is after the book came out. And we spent, 4 hours in there going through every single receipt. And don't you know, in the last box, we found the name of the man that built the bridge. We found receipts payable to him.
Wow.
And that was great. I was so excited. I don't think anybody else was quite as excited as I was. I was very excited to find that out.
No doubt.
But there are still some bridges that I don't know who built them. There's story and there's legend, but I haven't been able to prove it. So I'm still looking, and I'm hoping that some of these communities will find some boxes in their storage units and will call me and invite me to come look.
Yeah, and then we might need, the second edition with all the new information that you gather between now and then.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I know my favorite covered bridge is the Cornish-Windsor Bridge.
Yes.
I really, really like that one. And now I've heard that that's the longest covered bridge in New England.
It's the longest wooden 2-span covered bridge in the world.
In the world. Okay. So what does a 2-span bridge mean?
It means it has a center pier.
Okay.
So when the bridge goes across the river, there's a pier in the middle that helps support the bridge. Yeah.
Well, I'm just amazed that many of these you can still drive over, and it's just such a treat because we go to St. Gaudens often, the only national park in New Hampshire. We take our dog because they're dog friendly, and then we cross over, and there's a dog friendly area. There's a spirits place. There's a brewery down the way in Windsor that we go over. So every time we do that, we get to go over the bridge, and we get out, we park our car, we take pictures of our dog in front of the bridge.
That's awesome.
The way you got to do it. So they're just gorgeous. I mean, the architecture, the engineering back in the day, it just, amazing. And it's I would assume they're not building any more wooden bridges these days because it's just not feasible, correct?
Well, they are. But there's been a few that have been constructed in New Hampshire, starting in the Greatons built the New England College Bridge in 1972, and that bridge can carry traffic. It doesn't. It's on the New England College campus, so it's basically built for people to walk across. But and the Timber Framers Guild built a bridge in Chester in 2011, and that also doesn't carry traffic, but it is an authentic covered bridge. But if you're in a high traffic area, I mean, clearly Concord is not going to build a covered bridge in their downtown area because people would never be able to get through. And that's what happened to a lot of the covered bridges that we had. Communities had to make a choice about carrying heavier vehicles and moving traffic through. And you can imagine some of those bridges were very small, one lane bridges, and you can't keep that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just not sustainable.
No.
Well, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Kim Chandler about her book, Covered Bridges of New Hampshire. And this is one book that is featured on our website at nhwritersproject.org as part of our holiday showcase, which is an effort to highlight all of our local members and their great works for the holiday season and give you a chance to support the local literary community. So great gift ideas on our website. Check it out. And Kim, I'm wondering, who can you tell us who would be the best audience for this book? Who would love this? Who would be great to give this as a gift to?
I think anyone who enjoys history and anyone who enjoys traveling, because what I want you to do with the book is to take it and drive around the state, print off the checklist that I have on my website and visit them all.
What a great idea for the checklist. I love that.
And like you said, get out of your car, take your picture in the front of the portal, tag me on my social media so I can see.
Love it.
But that's what I want. I want people to do. I want people to visit New Hampshire's covered bridges and understand what they're looking at and why the bridge is still there. It's not cheap for communities to preserve these covered bridges. Bradford recently restored their Beemont covered bridge, and the price tag on that is $1.6 million.
Wow.
So it would have been easier and less expensive for them to just tear the bridge down and put in a concrete and steel bridge, but that's not what these communities do.
Yeah.
And it's a big community commitment, and it's because people understand how valuable they are. And so my hope is that these histories will encourage people to understand where the bridges came from, who built the bridges, how much did it cost, how many times have they worked on the bridge, how many times has the bridge been washed off by floods and then put back. That happens a lot. And
Yeah, these stories are such a rich part of our history. I agree.
They really are.
Yeah. Well, and Kim, in your book, I love the idea of the checklist on your website. In your book, do you give an address or instructions on how to find these easily?
I do. I do have an address. I also have coordinates, and I have been somewhat scolded for not having a map, but I do have a Google map.
Okay.
I didn't even think of a map, but I do have a Google map that you can download, or you can get it on your phone, so you can push on the bridge and it will give you directions. And I also have a Google map of where the loss covered bridges were. So I always tell people, if you want to drive around and feel sad, you can find all the spots where the covered bridges used to be.
Okay. Oh, fascinating. Well, to learn more, go to coveredbridgesnh.com, where you'll find all this great information. You can also purchase the book through Kim's website, or you can purchase it on our website. So, Kim, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate all that you did to preserve this rich history for New Hampshire. And before we part ways, is there anything else that we should know about you or this project, or any potential projects coming up in the future?
I am still deep into researching all of New Hampshire's covered bridges, lost and present. If you know of any communities that have covered bridges that maybe we don't know about, please let me know. If you have historic photos, I'd love to see those. I'm starting to make my own collection, which is fun, and it can be expensive, but fun. And yeah, I don't know everything. There's no way I possibly could. So if other people have resources or historical photos, I would love to see those.
Excellent. And I assume people can contact you through your website?
Yes, they can.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Kim, for being my guest here today. Thank you to all of you for tuning in and for supporting our local literary community. We appreciate you, and we hope you have a wonderful holiday. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.